was beautiful, Rick. Thank you. Just want to welcome everybody that's watching us today. This is kind of weird. Nobody out there to talk to except Maurita and a couple other people here. Anyhow, we appreciate everybody watching today, and I know this is strange times for us going on here for a couple of weeks. Hopefully things will get back before too long. I just ask that everybody just stay patient and as I always say, be kind to everybody. These are hard times for people that are really stressing, and they seem to lose their patience a lot. So we try to show that we are loving and kind as we teach at this church all the time. And so just please keep that in mind as the week goes on and the days go by. And again, I wanted to stress, I know Maurita's been in touch with members of our congregation, and I have. If we have not been in touch with you to check on you, we will be. And if you need anything, please do not hesitate to call either one of us, and we will see to the best of our ability to help you out as we can. The announcement for this week will I know the Healing Circle has been canceled. Most everything that we've had planned for the next week or so has been canceled. So going forth, we are keeping in touch daily with the news and everything as to what's going on and abiding by the guidelines that are putting out for us. So we will keep everybody informed as much as possible as what's going on. Just use your common sense and good judgment about what you do and where you go, and everybody stay healthy and well. And we'll turn the service over to Maurita. And Rick, thank you for the lovely music today, and I appreciate that. And Maurita, I know you're going to give us a wonderful uplifting service. So.
Thank you for your vote of confidence. It is a strange time, isn't it? But we settle back into some of the things we believe and know, and are comforted and assured. So I welcome you, and we're going to start our service this morning with a Bible verse. It's from Isaiah. Thou dost keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on thee, because he trusts in thee. So think with me these thoughts. In order to give full power to the activity of spirit, actually what we have to do is provide the right conditions in our own heads, in our own minds, in our own way of thinking. The peace that this particular verse from Isaiah is talking about is serenity that's achieved through knowing our unity with God, knowing that we are one with Him. And that's not just in mind, that's physically, mentally, emotionally, every other dimension of us is one with this spirit that fills heaven and earth. The way to achieve a state of consciousness is through consistently practicing it. And that's what we are going to be doing. That's the way, that's the path. Now, when we practice holding to this truth, gradually our whole being is transformed. Because to trust in God is to have complete faith in that invisible action that will come forth in the things that we do, the people we interact with throughout our lives. We'll see these synchronicities begin to unfold. We have to learn to rest, as the verse says, quietly, and wait expectantly. Vibrant expectancy. That's what we're moving toward. That's what we want. That's what we want to feel and express. Now, shall we just get still for a moment? Close your eyes and let us know together. I have faith in God. I do. My trust begins to fill me. Fill me. And as I move throughout my home or throughout my chores or whatever I do during the day, it moves with me wherever I am, of course, because it's part of what I'm thinking about. I'm sustaining that current of faith in God. There is that deep place of peace within me, and it is achievable. It is something that we can contact. It's part of us already, not something we have to add, just something we have to find within ourselves because it's there, and touch it, feel it. That brings forth harmony. That brings forth blessings. That faith in God. Thank you. Thank you. Now, shall we say, perhaps you know it already, or you could just listen to it, our statement of being: God is all, both invisible and visible. One presence, one mind, one power is all. This one that is all is perfect life, perfect love, perfect substance. I am the individualized expression of that God. I am always one with this perfect life, perfect love, perfect substance. Thank you, Rick. And now it's time for our healing meditation. Some people tell me that it's their favorite time in the service. But it's a time when we just relax. We let go. Relax our faces and our shoulders. And our chests and backs. Going within. Closing our eyes. Because we relax so much more easily when our eyes are closed. And taking a deep breath and letting it out slowly. And everything begins to relax. The rest of our bodies, our minds that are so very busy all the time. And we listen within. Listen within. And make a promise to ourselves. I am going to keep my mind centered on constructive things. Positive things, helpful things. Such a wise thing to do. And if we keep practicing it, we're going to have exactly the right results for right now. You know, children in school have to work problems. In exactly the same way, we have to solve the problems that come into our own lives. We do this through thinking positively, constructively. And then constructive living comes next. We start cheering other people up. We start enjoying life, feeling the joy of life rather than the burden of life. Really, there isn't any other way to do it. It has to start within. There is no promotion in any school unless we do the work. And there's no promotion in the school of life until we do the work that we need to do here and now, handling what we need to cope with right at this moment. What does constructive thinking actually mean? It's remembering that God is right here, right now, within and without. It means thinking of loving things rather than things that make you angry. It's thinking about faith, putting our faith in God rather than thinking fearful thoughts. It's drawing on an inner power that is always within us, rather than thinking, oh, how am I going to cope with this? How am I going to do this? We say instead, the power of God within me expressing meets any and every challenge. And certainly we think of the spirit of life itself, within and without. We don't think in terms of illness. We think in terms of wellness. We let truth prevail in our consciousness, in our daily thoughts. And if we catch ourselves, going down that negative path, we stop ourselves and turn around mentally and go in the other direction. There is one that is ever present, and we rest our thoughts on that infinite spirit that is both as far as space and time can imagine, and as close, as the poet said, as our hands and feet, and nearer than breathing. If necessary, we keep saying to ourselves, and affirmations are a tremendous help, God's presence here is peace. God's presence here is life. God's presence here is inner security and comfort. And then, gradually, we feel relaxed. We feel like everything really is well. God's in charge. And we don't just feel this for ourselves. We feel it for the people we know, the people we love, the people who live on both sides of us, the people who are in other parts of our country where the disease is rampant. We think in terms of the whole world. Certainly our armed forces abroad. We pull into our minds our own government and the safety and health of all those there who serve, and affirm that they are enlightened with God's own wisdom to do the right thing, to have the right things in place, to create what is necessary for our country. We certainly hold in our thoughts our Valley Community Church prayer list. We know for them, each and all, the presence of life, the presence of inner peace, the presence of being loved, the presence of that which is perfection, is ultimate good, is the life force itself. Now, we are going to have 90 seconds of silence when you can think of those people, yourself included, of course, who need your prayers, who need you to know for them right now the light of God filling them, surrounding them, securing them, helping them, helping all. Starting right now. unto me, all ye who labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. And we rest in God. We relax in Him. We find that peace filling us, that sense of assurance. All is well. God is in charge of my life. He leads the way. I take comfort and peace in that knowledge. He does carry the burden for me. Thank you that it is so, beloved Father, Mother, friend, comforter, companion, lover. Amen. Now we have the Lord's Prayer. This is from the Aramaic. And so would you recite it? Read it as I do. Our Father who is everywhere, your name is sacred, your kingdom is come, your will is throughout the earth, even as it is throughout the universe. You give us our needful bread from day to day, and you forgive our offenses even as we forgive our offenders. And you let us not enter into materialism, but you separate us from error, because yours are the kingdom, the power, and the song and praise from all ages, throughout all ages, sealed in faith, trust, and truth. Amen. Okay, turn up the lights a bit.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. This morning, my talk is entitled, It Shall Not Come Nigh Thee. Yeah. It's kind of a strange time, isn't it? Sanctuary's empty. On the outside, though, you know, things are pretty much the way it's been for a long time, certainly 2 weeks ago. But since that time, things have gotten kind of different. Grocery stores are definitely different. Certain places we always go that have always been available to us, they're kind of different too. They're not available to us. The newspaper is filled with articles after article about one thing. TV news is exactly the same. I guess I don't look at the news on the web, but I guess it's the same. It takes a while to mentally adjust to the idea that we are on a war footing with something we can't see, something with a kind of strange name, COVID-19. This virus is a great leveler. No one seems to be immune to it. You know, we're very accustomed to the idea is that rich people can easily avoid the inconveniences of life, but not now. Well, we don't have any royalty in our country. We do have Hollywood royalty. And last week we read that Tom Cruise and his wife were tested positive for the virus. So nobody seems to be immune. One of the things that most people assume is what psychologists called the normalcy bias. And what that means really is that most people have the tendency to expect that things will continue to occur in the future as they have in the past. Well, many of us have, until very recently, assumed that this illness is going to just be a blip, you know. something that's going to be around maybe for a few weeks, or maybe even a month, but then things are going to go back to normal. They're going to go back to the way they've always been. But lately, the news from the medical experts seem to say that it might be necessary for us to stay from 6 to 10 feet away from other people for 3 or 4 months so we don't spread the virus. That's a long time. But there are those among us who are thinking more positively, more optimistically. Not going to be that long. Maybe some people are overcautious, and that's a good thing. And maybe they're right, maybe they're wrong. I keep the more positive attitude, though. Many people have this normalcy bias. That is, they automatically think that things are going to go back to the way they were before. But then there are those who don't have that bias, but they have a worst case scenario bias. They automatically believe that all these things they've mentally created in their own minds mean that imminent danger is there. There's catastrophe available. Look out, on either side there is danger. And these are the people who are suffering unnecessarily. We don't have to go through this kind of inner turmoil. Look, almost nobody likes uncertainty, no matter what your automatic bias is. But we, the people who are looking at this broadcast today, we are in the very best possible place, the very best possible mental space to cope with uncertainty. Let's put it plainly. The fear that we or people we love are going to get that virus. Now, why do I say this? Why do I say that we are the very best equipped to cope with this uncertainty or this fear? Because we have been carefully taught and have come to really believe that the basic truth of life, the basic truth is God is omnipresent. This is that life-changing spiritual revelation that our founder, Melinda Kramer, experienced so long ago. She knew, she was certain as she knew that she existed, to the depths of her being, that God was the creator, He was the creative activity, and He was the creation as well. God was everywhere, in everything, everyone. There was no place He was not. God, in other words, is the fundamental energy, consciousness, life, mind, presence, throughout the universe as well as right here, right in you. Paul said it more simply in the book of Acts. In Him we live and move and have our being. And then he added, we are His offspring. God is the creative power that brought everything, including us, into being. There is no material thing that we have ever interacted with that wasn't God or God in action. But most importantly, His universal presence isn't some cold, mechanical series of physical and mental laws in action. God's one outstanding characteristic is love. Love. God is compassion. God is wisdom and understanding, perfection, peace. God is knowledge, joy. God is unlimited good, unlimited power, unconditional love, and so much more than we could ever imagine, all perfect, all good. That love was never more visible than when in the first chapter of the Bible we received the greatest gift we could ever receive. Through God's loving inspiration, we received a definition of ourselves. We were told what exactly we are spiritually, eternally. We are the image and likeness of God. The innermost, the deepest, the most profound, eternal part of us, the part of us that we call our souls, that is God's perfect image, containing all of God's qualities, and inseparably, forever, one with Him. What an endowment! What a legacy that is! All of God's qualities, inseparably one with Him. And this gift, His image, is freely given to every single person who has ever lived. But just as God is constantly giving His unconditional love to us, so is He constantly giving unconditional freedom. Freedom. Free will. He never forces anything on us. He never makes us do anything. Just as God is omnipresent, so is His good omnipresent. It's available to everybody. But we have to freely believe in and accept that good. We have to know that that's for us. Not just some lucky person. It's for you and me. Our part is to believe in God's reliability. He's going to be there whenever. Our part is to learn to trust Him totally. Or our part is to affirm, to keep on saying to ourselves something, an affirmation like, divine order is already established. We keep saying that to ourselves. Yeah. This kind of belief is going to deliver the goods. It's going to deliver the realization and the experience that God, omnipresent good, is right where we are and is manifesting just as we need it. If you're one of those people who has that worst case scenario basis, we think, oh my, this is going to happen, that's going to happen. We have a lot of mental work to do. We've got to really work on that. But how overwhelmingly worth it it's going to be, because the weight begins to fall away from our shoulders, our mental shoulders. And we feel better and our bodies feel better right away as we do this. Now, we certainly aren't the first people who have faced serious illnesses. Down through the ages, there have been plagues, there have been epidemics, I should say. And granted, there weren't as many people as there are on Earth as there are today, and perhaps they weren't living quite as closely together as they are right now. But today, there weren't the doctors, there weren't the social services, there weren't the easily available medical advice, good information. There wasn't available food that there is today. Back in the Old Testament times, there was a lot more than just illness to worry about. A lot more. It wasn't just if somebody is ill, there were all the events and experiences of life that supported them to worry about. You know, if there wasn't enough rain, the crops would fail and the people would starve to death. If there was too much rain, the crops would fail and there would be famine. There was always the possibility of locusts coming right through the place and eating everything right down to the ground. And that's exactly what's happening. That's what's happening in Africa today. Or you might be baking some bread, you look out the door, and you see an army of men coming over the hill with swords, and they're bent on either killing you and your whole family, or making you all slaves. Talk about living with uncertainty compared to them. Compared to the conditions that, for instance, refugees live with in our world today, we live in paradise. Now, that's not to minimize the seriousness of where we are today, but what the heck did they do? How did they live their lives? How did the people of the Old Testament and the New Testament manage? They lived in fearful times. They depended on God. That's how they managed. There was no other safe place. As Jesus said, they made their home, they built their house, their mental house, on a rock. And the storms came and the winds blew and the house was not moved. That's the kind of mental house we need right now. Now, the 91st Psalm was probably written something like 3,400 years ago. But it perfectly addresses exactly the same kind of frightening situation that we face today. Now I want you to listen to it. This is the Lancet translation. I'm going to read it to you. He who dwells in the protection of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. I will say of the Lord, He is my refuge and my fortress, my protection. My God, in Him will I trust. Surely He shall deliver you from the snare of the fowler and from vain gossip. Now, the King James Version uses the word noisome pestilence, but that was an idiom. That was an Aramaic idiom for gossip. People are not going to gossip about you and say evil things about you. He will cover you with His feathers, and under His wings you shall trust. What a beautiful analogy. Just like a mother bird gathering her brood under her soft, downy wings. His truth shall be your shield and buckler. That's protection. That's God's love. That's God's grace and good. You shall not be afraid for the terror by night, nor for the arrow that flies by day, all the external dangers, nor for the conspiracy that spreads in darkness. Now, the King James Version mistranslates pestilence. It should be conspiracy, because conspiracies were not out in the light of day, they were in the darkness. But now, these are the words that you need to remember. Thousands shall fall at your side, 10,000 at your right hand, but it shall not come near you. That we need to remember. Thousands shall fall at your side, 10,000 at your right hand, but it shall not come near you. And then the 10th verse goes on. There shall no evil befall you, neither shall any plague come near your dwelling. For He shall give His angels charge over you to keep you in all your ways. They shall bear you up in their hands, lest you dash your foot against a stone. You shall tread upon the viper and the adder. You shall trample underfoot the lion and the great serpent. Now, the viper, adder, serpent, they all stand for enemies. And right now our enemy is a virus. And it goes on. Because he has loved me, therefore I will deliver him. I will set him on high because he has known my name. He shall call upon me, and I will answer him. I will be with him in trouble. I will deliver him and honor him. With long life will I satisfy him and show him my salvation. That's God's promise. That's God's promise. These words have given people hope for thousands and thousands of years, a sense of safety. That psalm. So go and find that Bible. It's somewhere in your house, and dust it off and open it up to Psalm 91 and put a bookmark there and put it on your bedside table or someplace close by and read it morning and night. Read it. It's a beautiful psalm. It's wonderful words. And, well, for some people it might be a little too long or complicated, or maybe a little too hard to remember, but if that's the case, then just say the 23rd Psalm. So that's so easy. The first sentence, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Wow. That's a promise. I shall not want. God doesn't break his promises to us. I shall not want. Now, if you have any problems with that line in the 91st Psalm, because he has loved me, therefore I will deliver him. If you've got in the back of your mind, well, I haven't really loved him a lot, or maybe I didn't love him the way I was supposed to love him. I don't know about that. I want to share something with you. I've never told anybody this, so you're the first. It's something very private, something that I cherish. You know, I don't relate to God in quite the way the divine science textbook says you can relate to God. I hug God. Now, that might sound like Looney Tunes, really, because, well, this whole universe, vast beyond even imagining. And there are some people who say there are multiple universes. And the mathematicians tell us there are not just 3 dimensions, or 4 dimensions, I should say, like we have. There are 11 dimensions. How are you going to love a God of multiple universes and 11 dimensions? How? How can you love or hug all that? How can you do it? Well, in your mind and imagination, you can put your arms around everything out there and everything in here and all those dimensions as well. You can feel that hug. You can feel it because you've hugged so many times before. That long, loving hug. You've given it and you've received it. So you just hug God and you say, thank you. Thank you because goodness knows we have, all of us, so much to be thankful for. That's the most wonderful feeling, hugging God. And that's what we want. We want a feeling. And after we've tried that, and we have that feeling, then it's not hard. It's so easy to say, I love you. I love you. And feel that too. I usually have stories in my sermons because stories are great. They illustrate important ideas to keep in mind. But I don't have any stories today because, well, we face a challenge, really, that we can't really go through with any kind of ease or peace of mind without God. But with God, we can not only go through it, we can grow through it. We can discover for ourselves just exactly how practical faith is, how it makes our daily challenges, even deadly ones, not only surmountable, but they can turn into enormously rewarding times. Try reading the 91st Psalms. It shall not come nigh thee. It shall not come to you. Despite others, it might come to. It will not come to you. Or the 23rd Psalm, the Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. Say it over and over to yourself. And hug God. Shall we go with him? And give thanks. Give thanks that we have so many resources, but the most important resource of all, and that is that spirit of love, that spirit of life, that presence of good, that presence of abundance and blessing, right where you are right this second. And let us give thanks for that. Deep thanks. Amen. Now, we don't have anybody in the sanctuary. We can't pass an offering basket. But certainly you know the expenses of the church go on. So we thank you so much for sending a check or giving us something through the internet, through our website. It will help us continue. But shall we say the blessing of the gifts, if you remember it, or if you don't remember it, you can sort of mouth it after me. Today, I acknowledge God, omnipresent, as the source of all good, as the source of my good. With this acknowledgement, I accept His will, which is abundance in every aspect of my life, every aspect of my life. I release all thoughts of lack and limitation and illness. And I am open and receptive to the increased flow of abundance to me right now. I joyfully accept the gifts of life and freely give of the special gift that I am. Through me, God omnipresent blesses and multiplies this gift for all. Thank you, dear God. And now, shall we have the final blessing? Those of you who have been here know that we take hands. So in your mind, just take everybody's hand. We are together mentally, spiritually, as a group. We hold each other in that perfect light of God. We know that we are loved and protected. All is well. Good is ours. Inner peace is our experience. Blessings untold will come to us through this experience of having to stay away from one another. God is omnipresent. And for all that means, And we can't even imagine all the good that means. We give deepest thanks. Amen. Our blessings and love go to you.